Before we get to our questions, dog, we got our meme of the week out of the
Oh,
way.
we.
It's time for our new segment, our third only. This is our
This is
third
the
ever.
third annual. Only it's not annual at all. So it's third
3 months in a row.
bi-monthly
Monthly.
monthly
Yep.
episode where we bring on a young and up and comer. Well, we couldn't get one this week, so what we did.
Wait, this is one of your boys.
I know he's my boy. That's why I
Okay.
can say that. So he's not so young. That's what I was getting at.
Okay,
but
okay.
he is
Still an up and comer.
it's still an up and comer, but
There
but,
we go.
But not in all the provinces of the Great White North. This guy's been doing it for 20 years. So I will, without further ado, I will bring in Hotshot Danny Duggan. Just like
We didn't get our good logo in.
Oh,
Get
what
the good
logo? Sorry. Before we did you
Our
hang up
15
on Danny anyway?
I know. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Boy, that's a good logo.
Yeah, they're supposed to not know who's popping in.
Oh,
But
but
they
it's
know
too late
now.
now. Now they know.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, Hotshot Danny Duggan.
Thank you, boys.
There he is.
There he is. There he is. Danny, how are you?
Good. If you wouldn't have buried me out the gate, the gray hair in my beard might have anyway.
Well, you know what? Me and you both. I went to the barber today, actually, and I said, "Look, can you?" So right now, I feel like I'm wearing a sweater of my own gray Brillo pad hair. But so how long you been wrestling, Danny?
I'll be celebrating my 21st year as a professional wrestler next month.
How about that?
That's why I said he's not an up and comer. He's been doing this for a minute or 18,000.
How long have y'all known each other of that?
When did we first?
We
When was
first
that?
met when you did. You came up here for my organization, Canadian Wrestling's Elite, in January
Yep, the
2010.
CWE in 2010. So was I sober then?
No, not yet.
Okay.
I think doing 3 tours of Canada made you think about your life a little bit, and you went and got your act together.
So
Hey,
so when
my
we
favorite
did
is he didn't say I didn't know. I'm not sure. He went no.
no, heck no. You surely were not. But I remember standing. These are some of you go to some of those Inuit Indian reservations, and you're in the north, you know what I mean? And so I remember standing outside to try to smoke a joint and was so cold, I just went back in the hotel. I was like, it's not even worth it because the weed wasn't any good anyway.
You sobered up because you were cold.
I remember you standing outside of one of those hotels one night. I was standing there with you, and a resident of the area came up and asked you. He said, "Hey, are you the Road Dogg?" And you looked at him without blinking an eye. He said, "No, I'm Billy Gunn." I said, "Oh, yes, I remember you." And he carried on his way.
Bless his heart. Oh, what an a-hole.
So-
but I wasn't sober yet, I swear.
So we know you're north of the border. Where are you based out of, brother?
Just outside Winnipeg, Manitoba.
Oh, how about that?
So yeah, he's been the first time I went to jail, I think, was in Winnipeg. But we'll talk about that later. So CWE is and believe you me, Casio, when I talk about CWE, everybody who's anybody has been up through the CWE. It's almost like Memphis of the Great White North. You know what I mean? Like all the names went through there. Who is a who's who of who you've had just lately?
Just lately, we just wrapped up a 10-day tour last week with the Ultimo Dragon, which was his first ever Canadian tour.
Yeah.
We've got one coming up in the new year with Too Cold Scorpio. He's doing a week with us up this way.
Oh, heck yeah, Too Cold.
But literally, like you said, everybody's been up here. Guys from the 80s, whether it's, Demolition, the Honky Tonk Man, Jake the Snake Roberts, guys from the Attitude Era, Road Dogg, Billy, Val Venus, Gangrel, and guys when they're on their way up to the top, Brian Danielson, Seth Rollins, Claudio Castagnoli, the Briscoe brothers. Everybody's been through Canada at some point or another. A lot of people still kind of refer to it. It's the last territory of pro wrestling because we're the last group that still gets on the road and goes town to town each night. We're packing in a car, we're packing in hotel rooms, and we're keeping the dream alive, brother.
That was, and you're making towns, man, making them in a convoy sometimes. I think we ran off the road one time. I forget who was driving, maybe Big Vito was but I remember just for real. And what's AJ?
AJ
your guy?
Sanchez.
Yes, he's still with you?
He's still with us, yeah.
Yeah, it was his brother there too?
His
Did he have
brother
a brother?
JJ.
Yeah, is he still around?
JJ is no longer wrestling. No.
Oh, okay. Well, that'd be darn because I remember it was kind of a family deal. Like it was you and your friends kind of doing that and hauling the ring and doing everything. It was cool. It was a cool little because you did like 10 days. You know what I mean? We went on the road, and so it was one of the last times I remember doing that.
Yeah,
And
it's
going
grown
on the
quite a
road
bit.
like that.
Since prior to the pandemic, we were up to doing 38 days straight across the country.
Holy
Whoa.
mackerel!
And then the world came
driving at all?
driving it all. We would start in Winnipeg, we'd drive all the way west to Vancouver, loop all the way back around, and finish in Ottawa. So
Holy
right before the
mackerel!
pandemic, we were supposed to debut in Quebec with our first event in Montreal, and then everything came closing down. So we've been kind of rebuilding.
Is everything up north normalized again, or?
Yeah, we just got opened up to do live events about a year and a half ago. We were like way
Wow.
behind the ball. Like it was about a year after you guys opened up that we were finally given the green light to have live events up here. So
Yeah.
it was pretty quiet for 2 years. Pretty much killed the business dead, and
That's-
we've had to
that's
kind of build
hard,
it from
right?
scratch.
Yeah, that's hard. That's hard. But do you have I feel like you would after this many years, but do you have a fan base that follows, you know what I mean, in all those places, or are you trying to carve out a niche again after?
We're very lucky that a lot of these markets we've been going to for almost 15 years. So
Yeah,
we do have
yeah.
a solid base that's coming to see us, which allows us to kind of build off of and go into new areas and try new towns and keep the thing growing.
Yeah, it's really cool how you have it, and you're just running a wrestling business, and it's really cool to see on the sweat and tears of you guys and the sweat of y'all's brow. You know what I mean? Like, because I literally watched you unload the trailer and take the ring out of the trailer and put it all together, and a lot of the guys were helping you, and I don't know, man. That's just really cool and really organic. And I remember there was a training session going on over in the far corner. The first time I ever met, we'll talk about that off screen. There was the first time I ever met Jimmy Jacobs. The first time I ever met Jimmy Jacobs was with you, right?
That's correct.
That's correct. Jimmy Jacobs was in his, I think it was like a Dodge K car or something, you know what I mean? But it was all dented in and spray painted. And he was like, "Yeah, we've done a bunch of angles with my car, taking bumps on my car." He was driving it from Detroit or whatever. But what a great guy he is, and how far he's come now too.
Yeah, he's still coming on tour with us. He just did a tour with us in May for 10 days. So he still
that
loves getting
right?
up here, and it's a break from the
Good
TV
for
world
him.
of pro
Yeah,
wrestling
yeah.
for him. He gets to get on the road and then be a
He
brother.
gets to be the zombie princess.
Yes, sir.
Oh, that's
So
so
good.
cool, man. So what are you the champion?
I'm not. I haven't wrestled in 7 months myself. I had full ACL reconstruction
What
surgery.
kind of
in
promoter are
spring.
you if you're not the champion?
If you're not the champion, you
I
can be
have
the
been many
champion.
times. Don't get me wrong.
Oh,
In
so
the world
Danny,
of
you
wrestling, the only person you can depend on to show up is yourself. So
Yeah,
unfortunately,
if I'm running the
that's
show.
your task sometimes. But
you
Yeah.
and AJ
try
would
not to.
you and AJ would have 6 matches on the show. Y'all are the only ones
Exactly.
there.
Hey, so let me ask you this: for those of us who are not familiar with CWE, you said you're about to celebrate 21 years in the wrestling business. CWE has been along the whole way. Did you start it? Did you take it from somebody? What's happening? Tell us the history of CWE.
I started CWE 15 years ago. So I
You
was
started,
wrestling-
okay?
Yeah, I was wrestling for about 6. I was very lucky. Like I started wrestling when I was 15 years old, and I was very blessed to get on the road and start traveling this country for other organizations very quickly, and got opportunities to travel down to the States before I was even an adult. So I was getting an opportunity to kind of see the wrestling landscape outside of my home area and realized there was a lot of missing potential of what could be done with pro wrestling. So, kind of put my money where my mouth was and took elements from different territories that I worked in different regions of the US and Canada, and kind of got the ball rolling here because unfortunately, Winnipeg's famous for, producing Chris Jericho, for producing Kenny Omega. But the reality of it is that for most wrestlers here, we're geographically in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
The closest major U.S. city to us is Minneapolis, and that's 7 hours south. So there's not a lot of opportunity for talent here to be full-time pro wrestlers or get an opportunity to work with talented guys from major companies. So that was a big part of the mission statement when we started this, because there was a lot of talented guys that just weren't getting seen or weren't getting opportunities. So we figured, let's get the ball rolling. Let's provide the dates. Let's provide the work, and let's bring the guys to us And then hopefully as a result, we'll get our guys booked out, which has luckily
Nice.
been the case for 15 years.
15 years. And before we came on the air, you reminded me of something. Like was I on the first tour individually, or was it me and Billy?
You were on the first tour individually with Big Vito.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
So it was me and Big Vito were there. Was Vito in the dress still?
No, he was doing like this like MMA Big Vito at the time.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we just had
Tough
Vito back
guy.
for the first time last May, and he's back to being dress Vito. But in
Oh.
2010, he was shoot Vito.
Shoot Vito. Yeah. I get that. I totally
Yeah.
get that. It makes perfect sense. So what's your next deal that you have going on?
We're going into January. Like I mentioned, we got 6 events in 6 days with Too Cold Scorpio.
Yeah.
And then this afternoon, before we got on this podcast, I just hammered out a 12-day tour we're doing in February. So we're going strong into the new year. Like I mentioned, pre-pandemic was very busy for us. We're close to getting back to that. I think in 2023, we produced a little over 100 live events. So it's our goal to try to surpass that and continue to grow across the country going into 2024.
Holy mackerel, man! Are y'all on any like live? Are y'all live anywhere? Is that where you were going, Casio?
I want to watch it. I'm down here in Alabama. Can we consume that somewhere?
At the moment, no, but that is something we're working on because our model has always been the live touring event model, and that's kind of when been where our focus and been where our resources have been put. But with the growth of it coming out of the pandemic and crowds growing and opportunities coming to us, we're looking at doing that again in the new year. So we should have that up and running shortly.
And I'll tell you what, Danny, you are, for me, in my mind, in my opinion, you are a documentary writer's dream. If you want to see like exactly what they just did with Al Snow and with the OVW thing, dude, they could totally go on a 10-day tour and have a friggin' 6 series, you know what I mean? 6 episodes of. It's funny I should say that. You were about to say.
It's funny you should say that. There is a documentary on us. Actually, it's on Amazon Prime. It's on Tubi. It's called Canadian Wrestling's Elite. And they followed us around on a 21-day tour across Canada with Jake the Snake Roberts, which is an interesting story all in itself.
Yeah. Wait, so we can find that where? Amazon and Tubi?
Yes, sir.
So
there we go.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm sorry I didn't know that, and I said that, but it set up the sales pitch. So yeah, Amazon Prime and Tubi, and what was it called again?
It's called Canadian Wrestling's Elite.
So that's exactly
perfect.
what's the name of the joint.
And that, they really nailed it. They did a really good job. It first aired here on CBC across the country, and due to its success, it got picked up on those other formats. But they did an incredible job of talking about what you just mentioned, just life on the road, especially in the dead of winter. Like we were going town to town in the middle of December and January, where it reached temperatures of -50 at some points.
Yeah. I mean, I remember
every day.
I remember we ended up in a ditch, and I forget who was driving that day. But we ended up in the ditch, and it was like, well, we got to get the car out of the ditch because we got to make the next town. You know what I mean? It was Vito, wasn't it? It was.
Okay. I love he knew that instantly.
That's great.
That's me,
I knew that you knew that, and it was too. Now that you say that, I was like, oh, that's perfect.
Yeah, actually, I don't know if you remember, but the first time I encountered a full-size moose on the highway, I was driving with you.
Yeah,
I was driving the vehicle, and we're in the middle of nowhere, Ontario, and we're driving down the highway, and there's a moose the size of a dinosaur just standing right in the middle of the highway,
Right in the middle of the road,
and it wasn't moving.
I
So we
know.
had to hit the brakes. and we had to
What are
hang
you
tight.
gonna do?
Hey,
Diddy, is that a cow? It was a friggin' moose.
we got a few minutes left, so I want to make sure we get a couple things in. First,
Okay.
as your name suggests, are you related to Hacksaw? Have you interacted with Hacksaw? If not, what's going on with that?
No relation to Hacksaw. It was a name I was given by a promoter when I first started wrestling locally, and it just kind of stuck, and I was off and running. But I have worked with Hacksaw many of times. I probably wrestled him about a dozen across Canada and across the United States. So we're very well acquainted with each other. He was the American Duggan. I was the Canadian Duggan. And
Did y'all have like 5-star matches?
We had the exact same match every time, no matter how many years apart it was.
and in my mind, it was 5 stars.
Yes, sir. It was the
Because
hottest match
Duggan's,
tonight. I promise you that.
yeah. Jim Duggan's just a great human being. He's just a happy dude to be around and just fun. So,
And the incredible thing about pro wrestling was I was wrestling him in Canada, and of course he's going to be the babyface, being Hacksaw Jim Duggan, and that just goes to show the magic of pro wrestling. We're in Eastern Canada in the Maritimes. There's 500-600 people packed in these arenas chanting USA,
USA
for Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
Oh, I love it because that is wrestling, right?
What
about the other day? They started
they...
chanting USA the other day, and like Miz and Gunther, and I was like, what in the world? We don't do that anymore, do we? That was crazy.
Hey, what do they call a 2x4 in Canada? Aren't y'all different measurements?
We still refer to it as a 2x4. Yes, sir.
An old 8x7
It's
centimeter.
a 7.25 is a foot times 6.
I don't know what gallons or whatever y'all use up north of the border, but
something different. Everybody, by the way, uses that except us, except America.
Exactly. Yeah, we're the outsiders.
Yeah.
Hey, let us know. One, we're gonna check out the documentary. Everybody's gotta check that out. I'm excited to watch that.
Me too, actually. That's fun.
2, where can they follow you on social media and the organization itself?
You can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Hotshot Danny Duggan. And you can follow the organization Canadian Wrestling's Elite at CWE Canada on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube.
There we go. There we go. Making the most out of 2023 social media, brother.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Well, man, we're excited you joined us, brother, for this. I know you and Dogg go back a long way. We could talk forever, but this is super cool. This is new. Apologies. CWE brand new to me right here, and I'm excited to discover about it right now, which is exactly what this segment's all about.
Why we're doing it.
Yeah,
we're doing it. So,
I
Danny, thank you.
Your response on the documentary.
Yeah. We will put up a response. We'll probably just bury you a lot.
Please do.
But we'll put over the documentary, like the writers and the cinematography. But I'll bury your creative decisions.
That's usually me putting myself over. So
I was like, why is AJ Sanchez winning the title?
That was a conversation we had. I don't know.
I love it. I don't remember that either.
That legitimately happened. You pulled me aside. It was like, I think we were 5-6 days into a tour.
Yeah.
And you told me you're at the beginning because he was the champion at the time. And you said, when I first got here, I did not understand why that man was champion. But after seeing him work for 6 days, I get it now.
I know exactly why he's holding the title.
Yeah. But on the topic of AJ, I'd like to share a quick story of AJ and you. If you recall, we were in a place called Sioux Lookout, Ontario, and you were teaming with Billy against AJ and his brother JJ.
Yeah.
And it was a small house, and every night, if I recall correctly, up until that point, you were taking the heat. Billy was making the tag.
Yeah.
You on this evening talked Billy into taking the heat. You making the hot tag. You make the hot tag. You come in. They're bumping and flying for you. You call it where you hit the famous sir on AJ and tell him to kick out at 1. AJ kicks out at 1, and Billy on the apron, loud as everyone could hear, goes, "What the fuck?"
You can say that. You're allowed to. You're allowed to. Billy said it. It's Billy's fault. Oh my God! You know what's weird is I don't remember that one, and it sounds totally like me. But just mess with Billy.
On the mat, AJ was laughing. Everyone was having a great time.
Well, that's what it's all about, man. Yeah. That's what it's all about. And so for that, I thank you, dude, for bringing me up there several times, and I always had fun. You always took good care of me. So kudos to you for running this business successfully for 15 years and getting it back on track after COVID and the world changed. So really kudos to you for that. Again, we are going to go look for the documentary, and we'll look for you on all your social accounts. And thanks for joining us, dude, on the 15 Minutes of Flame. Hotshot Danny Duggan, everybody.
Thanks, brother.
Thank you, Danny.
Thank you for the time, man. Happy New Year, brother.
Yep. Happy New Year. Thank you, Danny.
How about that, dude?
Man, what a great guy and what a smart guy. Like you can tell he knows the geography and he just knows about it all. He's a smart kid.
Speaks to the quality of his organization that so
he's-
many incredible names have been through there.
and have all of them been through there. And look, he takes care of you. No matter what he tells you he's going to do, that's exactly what he's going to do, and that's exactly what you'll get. And that's how he always treated me, and that's how I always worked with him. So kudos to Hacksaw. Not
Hacksaw. Don't call me
Hotshot.
Hacksaw. Hotshot. It's
Canadian Duggan.
Here's one thing I found out about the wrestling community early with the boys and the girls that are actually in the business is you are an outsider until you can get somebody to vouch for you.
Yeah.
And to me, when he starts running off who's coming up, I'm like, well, that man's got everybody vouching for him, and that speaks volumes in the wrestling business.
Yeah, it does. I mean, I know he's had a problem with one person. I won't bring up his name, but a lot of people had a problem with that person, and so it wasn't anything.
You should have brought that up. Bring him back on.
No. It wasn't a big problem. It was just problems. You know what I mean? Like sometimes somebody gets there and all of a sudden they want this, that, and the other. And you go like, well, that's not what our deal was.
Right.
So it's,
By the way, Yambag Jones said y'all gave him 17 and a half minutes. He's counting for the Observer.
Oh.
Yeah. He's an official scorekeeper for the Observer.
Thank you, Yiz Biz. Yiz Biz Jizz.